Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, April 20th, 2026. So, we started this episode with Molly and Cody. They're arriving at the hospital and they're coming to the hospital because I have no earrings on and it's driving me crazy. I'll be back. But, like I was saying, they are going to the hospital because um, Molly has her follow up appointment from her procedure, just to see how things are progressing and to, like make sure like the get the lab results back on the pathology for the tissues that they removed from her. And she got positive news. It was non-cancerous, and she doesn't show any signs currently of any endometrial regrowth. So, positive. And Dr. Navarro tells her that she can resume regular activity. And Molly asks her, does regular activity include sex? And Dr. Navarro said yes, but listen to your body and, put a stop to it if anything becomes painful or anything. So she goes and she celebrates with Cody, and they go to the grill to have champagne. And he wants to like order a bunch of food and just have a good night. And she's like, yeah, we're gonna go back to your place. And he's like, but what about the celebration? She said, oh, we can celebrate there, bro. So yeah, go Molly, go Cody. Then we have Ethan and Christina, and they're, just catching up. And Ethan tells Christina that he is coming because he wants to work with Sunny. And she says that she knows how important it is for Sunny to have people that he can trust around him. And um, he asked, do you think I could be one of those people? And she says, you're Luke Spencer's son, and you're the most like him. Of course you can. I'm not feeling Ethan. Like, I know the history and all of that, but I just feel like something is off. And then it was weird too, because when Rick and Sonny got home, and Sonny saw that Ethan was there, Rick had a look on his face like he wasn't thrilled. Is there history that I'm not aware of specifically between Ethan and Rick? Because I know the history between Jason and Rick, but do he and Ethan? I will be doing research on that at a later time. Or if you know the answer to that question, please drop it down in the comments. I'll be grateful. Then we have Carly and Valentine. He's coming back from Nina's, and Carly has never lost any love for Nina. And she's like, why are you going over there? You said that Nina's is the first place that they would look. And he's like, we need Nina because she's going to be feeding Jack information. And then Carly tells him he got to go back to the attic because people could come over. He said, yeah, people. He is salty about her and about his girl and Brennan. Like, he's not gonna soon forget. And so she gave him, some of the stuff that she bought for him. And he's like, gee, thanks. It goes upstairs and Carly is like, oh my God. I like it. I this is about the only thing I find entertaining on GH right now is this tension between Valentine and Carly. I love it. Didn't know I needed it. Love it. Then we have Rick and Nina. So Nina is trying to hire Rick because just in case Willow does something, which we all know that Willow has already done something. And he tells her, If she's done something and you knew about it, you could be charged as an accessory. And all I will say about Nina before I put a pin in her for a second is that Nina is the reason Willow is the way she is right now. And I know you're thinking, well, Nina didn't raise her, blah, blah. No, Nina didn't raise her. But Nina never, since she found out that Willow is her daughter, and she has been trying to be a parental figure in Willow's life, she has never held Willow accountable for her actions. She acquiesces to Willow's will in the name of keeping peace. But as a parent, you have to do what's in the best interest of your child, even when your child doesn't realize it's in their best interest. You, the parent, have to do that. And Nina is not she, and I know Willow is grown, so she doesn't need a parent, but Nina has blurred lines where Willow is concerned, and it makes the situation bad because Willow runs around unchecked, and because she runs around unchecked, we have all this chaos. We have her, attempting to kill Drew. Now she has him in a paralytic state. We have all of this because Willow is running around unchecked. And her mother, the person that would be able to check her, refuses to do so. Then we have Alexis and Sunny. Alexis goes over because, as we know, um, Danny wanted to be in the mob, and she goes over to ask why he sent Rick over there, and he was like, "Look, I didn't want to have no beef with you. I just wanted things to be copacetic." And she's like, "Next time, come to me yourself. And what are you doing with Rick?" And she is again having issue with Sunny and Rick working together because it's never worked out in the past. So why do any of you think that it's going to work out now? But Sunny is assuring her everything is going to be good. And Rick comes over, and then they all three have a short exchange. And then Sunny is trying to like rush her out, and he's like, "Well, we'll walk you out." And she's like, "I'll walk myself out." Girl, the tale of the two baby daddies. I don't know if it's good to have two baby daddies or to have one like my girl Portia, but that one is a freaking piece of work. I digress. Anyway, so then we have Willow, Michael, and Jacinda, and they're picking up where they left off on Friday. They're going back and forth. She calling Jacinda all kinds of hoes and all kinds of stuff, and she is threatening them to go back to court if she doesn't keep Jacinda away from her children, and she's just ridiculous. So when Willow leaves, Jacinda tells Michael that Brennan came and asked her to help get information from which Nina don't even know. Get information from Charlotte, and if she does, then he can provide information that will be useful to Michael in court. And then meanwhile, Willow goes to her mom's house, and she's ranting and raving about Michael and Jacinda. And Nina's trying to calm her down, and she's like, "You can't go to court. One, someone knows you shot Drew. Two, Sidwell is like Sidwell. And three, you have Drew paralyzed." But yeah, that was GH. See y'all tomorrow. Let's talk General Hospital for today, April 21st, 2026. So we start this episode with Curtis. He's on the phone and he comes back. I think they're in like the wing where Monica's cardiac center is. And so he's coming in, and across the room is Portia and Isaiah. And Isaiah is, um, touching Portia's stomach because the baby's kicking or whatever, and they're excitedly chatting about the doctor's appointment Portia had. So come to find out, the appointment was kind of like a last minute appointment because Britt had an opening, so Portia took the appointment. So, she sees Curtis and she's like, "Oh, Curtis, the baby, this," and she's all excited. And Curtis is looking at her and he's looking at Isaiah, and is like very thick tension in the room. And so Isaiah ends up excusing himself to go make a phone call. And while he excuses himself, Portia turns back to Curtis and she's like, "Yeah, Isaiah came with me to the appointment, but that was because he was with me when I ran into Britt. And I thought that you would have your hands full with Jordan, and dealing with that. And, so I just took the appointment," which is so funny because Portia is hilarious to me. Portia said, "Curtis, how are you doing? And don't say you all right." She talking to him like it's Tuesday, which it is. But she's talking to him like it's Tuesday. She ain't asked about that woman one bit, which I will get back to that. She Portia is so good on Jordan. Like, Portia stays on Jordan's brain, but Jordan does not stay on Portia's brain. And the sooner everybody recognizes that, the better. But anyway, so she's talking and she's telling him that she wasn't trying to exclude him from, the appointment. It's just that it came up, and, he has everything going on with Jordan. And he's like, "Okay, but in the future, I want to be in on everything, and I want to be at all the appointments." And then Portia talking about, "Yeah, our baby is going to be here in a couple of months." Wait a minute, a couple of months. Last I checked, Portia is due the end of May. Do not do this to me, General Hospital, because I can't handle it. I can't do months of this anymore. Like, I'm done. I'm over it. She's supposed to be due at the end of May. Let's wrap this whole baby storyline up and give us this new baby. Anyway, so while, Portia and Curtis are down there chatting, and she's talking and she's all excited and she's like, "I got this sonogram for you because I knew that you would want this." And then, he was like, "It's so clear." They're talking about the features. They're all, having a very pleasant conversation. Meanwhile, Isaiah's upstairs visiting Jordan because, they're friendly, and, he just want to check on her because he's felt bad, about her being in the accident. And, it's really affected him. I don't know why, but it did. And so he's up there talking to her, and she's so ungrateful. He's trying to give her an encouraging word, but she's so ungrateful that she puts him out. And Curtis overhears this, and then he goes in and he talks to Jordan. He's like, "What did he do to you? What did he say?" And she was like, "Oh, he didn't do anything wrong. He's just trying to be encouraging." But Curtis is mad because Isaiah went to the appointment and he didn't. So instead of going to say that, he uses this Jordan thing as an excuse. "You're not friends. Stay away from her. Boy, bye." Because I can't with the bald menace. Boy, bye. So anyway, meanwhile, Jordan gets up and she's walking around. Portia, the physician, the one that's in scrubs right now on the clock, is down at the cardiac center, and she had dropped her sonogram. So she's picking it up, and she sees Jordan. Because she's a medical professional, she's like, "Oh, let me get an orderly to take you back to your room." Jordan is like, "Oh, now you can be civil to me. It took all of this, me and Curtis together now, and now you want to be..." Girl, Portia been too simple, because if she was right, she would have treated your ass back when she was still married to the bald menace, and we probably wouldn't even been here now. But I digress, because okay. Watch who you talking to. Meanwhile, we got Lulu and Dante and Rocco. They were at Bad Gens, but then Rocco leaves to go to community service, and Lulu and Dante are talking, and he notes that Lulu is being overprotective and that she was kind of being like him. And we know why Lulu is being overprotective. Meanwhile, Rocco is at the hospital, and when he's at the hospital, he goes to take a pillow into Cullum's room, and he's talking to Cullum. And Britt is walking by, and she sees it, and she kind of like gets him out of there. She's like, "You are needed in peace." And she's like, they go into the chapel, and she's like, "You need to stay away from him." And he was like, "Yeah, I know he's a killer." She's like, "Yeah, he's probably killed because he's in the WSB." And then he tells her that he was at the pier that night and that he shot Cullum. Yeah, I knew Rocco was going to break. I just didn't know who he was going to break to. Had no idea that it would be Britt. Anyway, then we have Britt and Lucas. They're in his office and they're talking. And Lucas wants him and Britt to work together to try to bring down Cullum and Sidwell, which I don't understand how they're going to bring down Cullum and Sidwell. It makes absolutely no sense to me. It seems like Lucas has a death wish, and he might end up going to be with Marco after all, because I don't see them this ending well for both of them. And if anyone's going to die, I feel like it's Lucas. Be careful, my guy. Be careful. Meanwhile, we have Molly and Cody, and the doctor has given Molly the all clear, after her surgery. But Cody is worried about, her pain and all of that, because as we know, one of the symptoms of endometriosis is painful sex, and she just had surgery, and so she didn't wasn't really forthcoming about her I can't speak, her endometriosis at the beginning. So I guess he is like, how will he know now if she's suffering? And he's like, he doesn't need her just like the grin and bear it just to get through it. He wants to know, like, if she's in pain, he needs to be in the know about that. And she's like, "Look, I want to be honest with you about everything." And then they get to it, doing what grown folks do. Meanwhile, Sunny, Ethan, and Rick are at Sunny's house, and as we know, Ethan wants a job with Sunny. Rick is against it because he's like, "You just coming out of nowhere and you want a job. This is weird." And Sunny was like, "Look, if you want a job, you got to interview with Rick." So Rick interviews him. And Sunny was like, "Well, what do you think?" And he was like, "I don't trust it." Sunny was like, "Yeah, me neither. I should send you packing. But I'm going to give you a chance. Don't abuse my trust." Then when Ethan leaves, Rick is like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "Look, sometimes you got to keep your enemies close to figure out what's going on. And I'm doing this for Luke, because if his son is caught up in something, then I need to figure out what it is so that I can help him, because I owe Luke that much." So yeah, it was pretty good, pretty decent episode today, very solid. Also, we saw Felicia and Jordan interact, and Felicia is giving Jordan some pamphlets on trauma, and she's like, "Oh, I'm from a law enforcement. I'll be fine," which means she won't be fine. I think we're about to see Jordan spiral into the abyss, and I wanted Jordan dead, and I prefer that she be dead. But seeing her spiral and her true colors come out, I'll take that too, because she had no reason to be as nasty to Portia or Isaiah. And I don't even care for Isaiah, but she had no reason to be that nasty to them. But I'll see y'all tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, April 22nd, 2026. So we start this episode with Emma and Gio. They're meeting at Bad Jen's coffee house or whatever. And he is surprising her with a trip to New York City to see Aladdin. And he is, very excited for the trip. And she asks, are we going to go see your family? And he immediately is like, no, and you can't post any pictures because if they find out that I was ever here and I didn't come see them, they will hunt me down. And, you know, so they're going to New York in secret to go see Aladdin, which, like, normally I'm a Disney girl or whatever, but I don't care about this. Anyway, then we have Joss and Lulu. They're at Bobby's, and they're talking and they're just having a conversation about Nathan and Britt, and then their parents or whatever. And what people don't understand, because no one knows other than Carly that, and Jason, of course, that Joss is in the WSB. Every conversation that you have with Jocelyn is never just a conversation. She's trying to glean whatever information that she can in whatever conversation she has. So she has this conversation where she talks about Nathan and how she had that interaction with him where she brought up Cesar Faison and upset him, and talked about Britt and all of that, because she's still trying to put together all the pieces of whatever is going on with Cullum, Sidwell, and Anna, the whole Anna portion of it all. So she's gathering all the information she can by having these little menial conversations. And she asks Lulu if she blames Britt for Jason getting arrested for shooting Cullum, for shooting Cullum. And she's like, no, I'm not saying that, but wherever Britt goes, trouble follows. Meanwhile, down at the PCPD, Nathan is saying that they were able to pull paint from the guardrail from that could have been a car that, per Curtis's story, swerved to get out of their way when Jordan, who was not paying attention to the road, swerved into their direction. They swerved and they hit the guardrail. Well, we know that Brooklyn had a big scratch on the side of her car, but we also know that Tracy had it taken care of. Put a pin in that and I'm going to come back. Meanwhile, Jordan and Portia continue their conversation from yesterday, and Jordan is trying to be as mean and nasty as she wants to be. And she says, why won't you be honest with me for once? First of all, Portia has never lied to you. And second of all, Portia doesn't owe you anything. But Portia gave her what she wanted, and she told her, look, I don't like you and you don't like me, and we probably will never be friends. And yeah, like, okay. And the reason Portia doesn't like Jordan is because Jordan never liked Portia, and she blamed Portia for Curtis not wanting to be with her. But Curtis didn't want to be with you because Curtis is flighty. Don't put that on her. That don't got nothing to do with Portia. And not liking another woman because of a man is crazy work. But go off, Jordan. Go off. So she's upset and she's mad at the world. And Portia's like, whatever, yo. And she's about to walk off. And then she's like, you know what? Look, we gonna be in each other's lives whether I like it or not, you're gonna be in my child's life. We need to be able to get along. And she walks off. And she also tells her, look, you need help. You're going to need help. It's inevitable. This is a situation that you're in and you're going to need help. Why not let Curtis help you? Like, stop being stupid, you idiot. And anyway, so Portia leaves, and meanwhile, Isaiah and Curtis, they're still going back and forth about staying away from Jordan, and it's stupid. It's just stupid. Curtis goes and walks off, and he goes to find Jordan, and Portia comes and she finds Isaiah. And Isaiah is asking her, did Curtis give her a hard time about him going to the appointment? She was like, no, me and Curtis cool. And then he was like, well, the peace might not last for long. I just had a run in with them, which I don't think he should have told her, because stop upsetting her. Like, let's not upset Portia. Portia is in the late stages of pregnancy. She has, thankfully, pretty much for the most part, except for little things here or there, had a pretty unproblematic pregnancy. Can we let her have a little piece? But based on the end of the episode, I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, so he tells her that, he had to run in with Curtis, and he tells her, how it happened with him going to see Jordan. And they were both very sympathetic to both Curtis and Jordan in the situation that they're in. And Isaiah is concerned whether or not they'll be able to keep the peace. And Portia's like, I hope so, because we need to. Like, we don't have a choice. We have this baby coming. We have to be able to be peaceful. We have to be a cohesive family, I guess. That hurt me to say. But anyway, and um Isaiah jokes that Stella ain't gonna have it any other way anyway. Meanwhile, Curtis is over talking to Jordan, and she is like, I need you, and she's whining, and she's like, what if it doesn't work? Are you gonna leave me? And I can't get into this, oh, my face is marred storyline with Jordan, because yes, I know it's your face, and I understand what the toll that may take on a person, but Jordan, I feel, is too old for that. That's a young person's concern, especially consider the life that she has led. She's led a life where she was in an accident that caused her to lose both of her kidneys, right? And then Curtis stole a kidney for her. And so she has that one transplanted kidney. And that has been compromised before, when her and Portia got locked in the basement. But still, she was able to get through that and become, moderately healthy. And now you were in another accident that could have taken your kidney, but they were able to save your kidney yet again. That's only happens in TV magic, because she should be out of here, or at least, at the very least, looking for another kidney at this point. But she wants to wallow in the fact that her face is marred, and it's, oh, it's going to be surgery after surgery. Girl, okay, and such is life. At least you have a life. You're ungrateful, and it's ridiculous. But anyway, so Curtis is making her feel better, telling her the lies that she want to hear, because I don't believe Curtis, because Curtis will say one thing today and then do another thing tomorrow, because the man don't, he's so wishy-washy. He blows like the wind that's out there right now. So he gets a call from Dante, and it's Dante saying that they got the forensics back on the paint sample, and it's a black German vehicle that hit the guardrail. And now here comes Mr. Baldy jumping to conclusions, talking about some Isaiah has a black German vehicle. A lot of people have a black German vehicle, but I digress. Man, I have, well, it's not black, but I have a blue German vehicle. But you gonna jump to Isaiah. I digress. Meanwhile, we got Britt and Rob. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, April 23rd, 2026. So we start this episode with Michael and Jacinda, and they're at the Metro Court sharing in a little bit of afternoon delight, if you get my gif. And, excuse me. And then they go down to and Jacinda is talking to him, sorry. And she is trying to, you know, pretty much think of a way that she can get, what's that girl name? Charlotte, to confide in her so that she can get information on Valentine to feed to Jack so that she can help Michael. But Michael is adamant that he doesn't really want her getting mixed up with Brennan, because you know he doesn't think that is a good idea, and she is adamant because she feels guilty because her alibi fell apart on the stand, you know, when she lied about being with Ezra and or not being with Ezra, so she feels guilty. But Michael is telling her, no, don't worry about it. Meanwhile, downstairs at the Metro Court in the gardens, Sonny and Christina are having lunch, and she's talking to him about Ethan and, you know, pressing him, did you, you know, hire Ethan? And he's like, yeah, on a trial basis. And she's like, it's good, you know, it'll be good for you to have someone you can trust. And Sonny reiterates that no one can replace Jason. And she's like, yeah, I know, no one can replace Jason. And then we see Michael and Jacinda, they come down and, you know, they start talking to, you know, Christina and Sonny, and then they go their separate ways. And then Sonny is asking Christina, you know, what she thinks of Jacinda, and Christina says, with Jacinda, you get what you see is what you get, unlike with Willow. Put a pin in that because Willow is something else, y'all. Meanwhile, Rick comes to see Alexis at her office, and he's there because he wants to speak with her about um Ethan and what she knows about him. And she says, you know, she has an affinity towards him because of, you know, the history between him and Christina and the whole Kiefer situation. And Rick is very against Ethan, which I'm not trusting why he's there either, but I digress. And so she's like, what is the real reason that you're so against Ethan? And then she's like, basically, I know you. You think you don't deserve anything. So you're trying to sabotage your relationship with Sonny. Just let this be good. And y'all think, do y'all think that Rick got it in him to just let it be? You know, and if it is an issue where Sonny may be put at risk, then you'll step in and help him out of it when the time gets right. But like Alexis said, you can't force things on Sonny. Like, let it be. You've made your position clear. Heck, you can say, I told you so later on, you know, if it does come out to be a mistake. But let Sonny do what Sonny's going to do because it's only going to cause unnecessary tension between the two of you. So I kind of agree with Alexis on that. Then Tracy is at the Metro Court and she thinks she's there to see Lulu, her stepdaughter, but she is surprised when she's actually there to see Ethan, her stepson. And, they're talking and they see Ava and Sidwell across the room. And, he's talking about, how Sidwell harmed um Holly, Sasha, and Lucky, like all his family, his mom, his sister, and um his sister and his brother, like dang, the whole family. So, she they talk about that, and she also talks about how he Sidwell is, part owner of Deception, and he's like, well, buy him out, you got enough money to do it. And she was like, it's more complicated than that. He said, well, then let me do it. And she's like, no, I don't need you to do it because he's dangerous, he's out of your league. But Ethan isn't trying to hear any of that, and he told Tracy that he can't make any promises, that he won't do anything to try and get Sidwell out of Deception. But Sidwell and Ava see them as well, and Sidwell sends over drinks to them, and then they come over to talk because Ethan doesn't want anything from Sidwell. And then he kind of makes a veiled threat to Sasha and Holly. And so then Ethan in turn makes a not so veiled threat. And then Ava, who loves to be on the wrong side of history, who claims to, I believe in loyalty. You ain't loyal to nobody but Ava Jerome, girl, please. Anyway, so Ava and Jens were talking, and Jen says, once you make an enemy of me, you're an enemy for life. So, yeah, things are about to get interesting in the city of Port Charles, if they're not already. Meanwhile, Willow done left Drew at home with Nina again. I don't know why she keep doing that, because Nina did not like being left alone with Drew. She finds it creepy. Forget Nina. And she's talking to him, and he's blinking at her, and she said, stop trying to communicate with me. I already know. I know Willow shot you. I know that this is why you're in this state. She says all of this. And there then Liz comes over, and she leaves Liz in the room with Drew, and she's talking to him, and then she figures out that he's asking for help, but she can't figure out what kind of help he needs. And then she says something about asking Willow, and about, because he may be able to communicate using a different kind of way. And she says she'll ask Willow, and Nina overhears this, and she's like, ask Willow what? But she got to cover the tracks, because it can't get out that Willow got him in this state, and whatever. Meanwhile, Willow is landed on thick, praising Kai, so that Kai doesn't get suspicious of her or tell on her, because she knows that he knows. And so she's talking to Kai, and then Jack comes for a meeting that she called, and she's basically blackmailing Jack, saying that she won't give the WSB any funding if he doesn't if he shows that video. Also, he needs to find dirt on Drew. And Brennan's like, well, shooting him won't enough, you want to blackmail him too? And why do you need to blackmail a man that can't do nothing? He might figure it out. And he's like, oh, I should have never underestimated you, but I won't make that mistake again. Does that mean that Jack might figure it out? Meanwhile, Kai goes back to the house, and um Nina and Nina and Liz are still talking about a different way to communicate, and Kai overhears, well, hears. And then Gio and Emma were in New York talking Aladdin. But that was today. I'll see y'all back tomorrow for the end of the week. If we must, let's talk General Hospital for today, April 24th, 2026. So we start this episode with Emma and Gio. They're still in New York. This time we're picking up after they see Aladdin. And, they're talking with Michael, not Corinthos. They're talking with Michael, and they're talking to him about him coming to the Savoy, and he knows of the Savoy, and he likes to perform, act this, likes to perform. And Gio says, his friend Trina, her dad owns the Savoy. You should come down and come to Port Charles. And, Michael makes plans to come to Port Charles. I forgot that Curtis owned the club. I think Curtis did too. In my mind, it's Portia's club anyway. So you might as well forget. Anyway, then we have Laura and Lulu. They're meeting at the Metro Court for dinner, and Laura makes a comment about them both being too young to be meeting for the early bird special, like a early dinner, because like we can go outside and be outside at night. Like we don't have to go to dinner early in the morning. I mean, early in the afternoon or the evening, but whatever. Um, they are talking, and while they're talking, Laura notices that Ezra is at the bar and she's concerned that he may be drinking again. So she goes over to speak with him. And when she goes over to speak with him, he she finds out that he's not drinking liquor, he is drinking Shirley Temples. And so then she goes back over with Lulu, and Lulu is like, "Why are you being so nice? This man made your life a living hell pretty much. Like, why are you being so cool with him?" And she's like, "We've reached an understanding or whatever." So then Ezra comes over, and then him and Laura have a bit of back and forth because, like, are you playing me or are you playing me? Like, but they decide that, they're going to keep their friendship or whatever. And he's like, he's going to come support one of her initiatives. And he was like, "I'll even match my title, match your outfit." And she like, "Don't do that," because she do got a husband. Joy Armstrong is her. I mean, not Joey. Kevin Collins is her husband. if if you know where um if you know where John Lindstrom is currently, then you get that faux pas that may or may not have been accidental. But anyway, so um then we have Valentine. Joss comes over because she's asking him, "Do you think someone could be imitating Cesar Faison? Because why would Cullen be walking around with cigarellos in this book?" And Valentine gets angry because he's pretty sure that Cullum is the reason for Anna's breakdown. And he kind of like makes a bunch of noise because he knocks some things over because he's so frustrated. And she's like, "Yo, what if somebody was downstairs and they heard you? You got to chill out." And he's just frustrated, and he's trying to warn Jocelyn to stay away from this situation because it's highly dangerous. And he recognizes, that she has skills as an agent, but at the same time, um, this is highly dangerous, and you're a new agent. You is above your death and breath, pretty much. But Joss is not trying to hear it. She gets a call. I guess somebody was looking for Liesel for her, because she gets a call and she leaves out to go to the Metro Court to see Liesel, to ask Liesel if she thinks that Nathan is impersonating his father. She's not right, but she's definitely on to something, because he is impersonating someone. It ain't he ain't Nathan. Then we have Liesel and Felicia. Um, she they were talking, and Liesel is um, just coming back from being out of the country, which we know that Sidwell arranged that, unbeknownst to Liesel. But she just come back from being out of the country, so she's tired, and so she's meeting with Felicia, and Felicia wants her to go to Paris with her, so that Liesel can tell Anna that she isn't helping Cesar or anything like that. But Liesel is like, Anna's not going to believe me. Like, she fully believes that Cesar is still alive, and that he's here, and that he is, you know, a threat. Me, and she thinks that I'm in on it. Me going to tell her otherwise isn't going to magically make her believe me and snap out of it. So, no, I can't do that. And Lisa is also telling Felicia, look, I want for Cesar to still be dead for my children's sake. But, you know, Cesar may still be dead, but his arms reach beyond the grave. And I think that, her being vulnerable and expressing that to Felicia put that, the possibility in her mind. And so when she speaks to Jocelyn, she's trying to leave because she's tired. But Jocelyn says that she looked very startled and, taken aback, because what do you mean my son is impersonating his father? Because God help us all if Nathan has taken on Cesar's personality, or the evilness that is Cesar. And I guess, knowing everything that they've been through at Cesar's hand is a lot for Liesel to come to grips with. If that is, we don't know what she's going to say. I'm pretty sure she's going to deny it, because I don't think she thinks anything like that. But I can imagine the thoughts that are going through her mind. Then we have Britt and Nathan, and she tells him that she knows Rocco shot Cullum. And he tries to lie at first, and she's like, look, Rocco told me everything. And she's wondering, like, is he trying to use Rocco as leverage? And he's like, no, I wouldn't do something like that, because as soon as um Cullen finds out, he's going to know that Rocco knows he's a double agent, and he's going to kill Rocco. And I'm not going to do that, because I like Lulu. And they continue to have the conversation about Lulu. And he states that he's not going to break up with Lulu because he's in love with her. And Britt's like, wow, that's fast. Yeah, it is very fast. I didn't think they spent enough time with one another to be in love. But he said that he's in love with her. And she's like, you don't have a long term goal for how this is going to end. So instead of hurting Lulu, you just need to call it quits now. Do y'all think that he is going to take heed to what his sister said and try and spare Lulu by breaking up with him? Or you think he gonna continue to let this keep going? But based on what Lulu told her mom, she feel strongly about him too. But yeah, this was General Hospital for today. You guys have a great and safe weekend, and we'll be back at it again next week. Bye.